Hi. So today we'd like to take you on a little bit of a walk around through our field and up in the woods to take a look at some of the water that we have. It's rained for about 3 days, and so the fields are kind of flooded. We don't get typical flooding, but we're going to go kind of investigate and see where it comes from and where it goes. Hey, hey, do you want to go with us, or do you want to stay here and be dry? Whoa, that's your answer. Typically, we don't get floods in Western Washington. I mean, we do have flood stages, but most of the time in our area, we get a lot of rain consistently, and so, it finds its way, since we're sort of mountains that direction and the straits are that direction. The water typically, runs down the hill and out to the straits, and so we don't really have, a lot of massive floodings like you do with, flatter lands. We do, however, get torrential rains that start in October and don't let up till probably, mid-July, always after the 4th. Anyway, so for our property, we're, doing well. We're going to take you around today. We're going to look at some of the culverts and just some of the areas that we have that we want to see where the water goes. So in the summertime, if we're going to direct or change, where our drainage is, we can do that in a way that's going to work the first time, or hopefully the first time. We do get a lot of mudslides and stuff that'll take out sections of roads here and there over the course of the year or the rainy season. But for us, where we're at on this property, we really haven't had too much damage or damaged areas. We have sort of a mountainside and then a field side. But we do have ponds that actually water runs through springs naturally all year long. However, with cleanup and stuff, we want to make sure that the water gets directed and put where it needs to be. So out in front of us, there's a creek that is usually pretty well dry in the summertime, which for us is about mid-July to mid-September. And then, of course, this time of year, it really does kick up and start moving. Looks like we have some friends out here in the field hanging out. It's November, so these guys are going from North Canada, Canadian geese, right? And traveling south for the winter. So this is a stop. But this is a pretty common event. We'll have flights stop here 2 or 3 times a day this time of year on their way south. They'll either go in the field and pick up some grass to give them the energy, or in the springtime, a few may even stop and nest in our pond, which we'll probably take videos of those as well. So one of the things we're going to look at designing is a bridge that'll at least allow a tractor to cross on this particular creek that goes through the middle of the field. It is not this tall in the spring or summertime, but coming out here and just seeing how deep and wide it is will give us a good idea on what size of bridge and what we'll need to do to build it correctly. I don't want to get these guys to take off prematurely, but I want to show you guys something over in the corner. Hi guys, how's it going, eh? You guys doing all right, eh? You have your passports? Oh, oh. See you guys later in the spring. That is not south. Turn left. Over here we have the neighbor, and they have their acreage in a family trust, and it was an original homestead type large amount of acres as well. You can see the barn there that has seen better days, but one of the things that we have as an upcoming project is replacing this fence. The cows would be on our side, and they don't have livestock at the moment, but there are herds of elk, 70 at a time, that come through here, and this is a crossing spot, so we want to put something in that is going to be good for... There goes our friends. Still not south. Right, take a right. In this area we want to build a wildlife fence that the cows can, not have knocked down and get out. However, the elk can cross or have an elk lane. So we'll have some creativity and some coordination with the Department of Wildlife, and build something that is going to accommodate all the wildlife and animals that we have here. Back in 1978, my dad built about 7 ponds and had rainbow trout in them. I don't think there's any fish in them at the moment, but this is the outlet of the ponds, and obviously where the creek takes a left turn and heads down and north towards the saltwater. There's quite a few trees and such in the field that are pretty interesting, and the cows haven't killed, so I think if they've survived this long that they deserve to stay. As you can see, we'll have to do some revamping of fence posts and things. We were going to rebuild the fence into paddock systems anyway, but this is a good example of where we need to consider flood stage waters. So where does the water come from, right? So that is one of the contributing little creeks that we have on the property that usually runs from October to mid-July. And so we're gonna go ahead and go up in the woods here and see where it starts. So behind me here you can see one of the original, well, older cedar trees, and if you look at it you'll see the mark. Trees towards the bottom, the fibers tend to, as you can see, kind of go out from the tree, and so they're not easy to cut, and it's not as desirable for wood. And back in the turn of the century, when you had hand saws only, it was easier to make a foothold and go up in the tree a bit and then cut it off where it was a consistent size. That's the general idea, but we have a few of these on the property, as well as some apple trees and cherry trees and stuff that were probably planted by the original settlers, let's say. I can get you a timeline on those things, and we can go over orchard video coming soon, probably in the spring. So let's go ahead and see if we can continue up this direction. It sounds like a panting cow on camera. I apologize. I'm really not trying to simulate that, although it's kind of what's turning out. Woo-hoo. Yeah, I did really fall in there. And yes, it's over the knee-high boots. But live action video, 5 on 40 as we go up through the woods. And the mushroom picking, secret mushroom picking area. Don't tell anyone. Another tree with some footholds. We don't plan on logging any of this. We plan on managing it. And the blowdown and stuff we'll reuse as firewood, and we'll use that for fence posts and other such things. So we're going to also, a lot of the trees we will, let lie and maybe do some mushroom growing experiments. Very cool. So up here we have a root wad of a tree that fell over. We'll go ahead and try to walk up here without getting any more wet. I guess once your socks are soaked, there's really not a lot else, right? You can't get more wet. So you might not be able to see it, but there's a depression here, and that's where all the roots were. And of course this fell down the hill, and then the log was carried away and used. So, but like I said, this whole area is kind of on a side hill. Not something we worry about as far as flooding, but we definitely want to work on proper management for here, where we're not going to disturb things or make a bigger mess. All right, this will be fun to get over. So we made it over this little dam where the trees and branches have kind of, and leaves and stuff have kind of collected up. So keep on heading up. Looks like we have a little bit of blowdown, again with the good materials here for mushroom growing. And we have a little bit of an access road. It looks like it might be able to use a culvert. So as you can see, the water's coming from up the road here, and also from this direction, which is further up in the woods. So we'll go ahead and keep heading up. So again, there's another tributary creek, and looks like the main part of it is outflowing from this direction. So my suspicion is that there's an outfall of a rather large pond type swamp area up on state land, and that's where our overflow of water is coming from. So I'd like to find a way to responsibly direct that. And this is the edge of our property, so it looks like we have the water coming out of the property up here, which is mostly berry bushes and such, and I'm not going to crawl through there, but that'll give us some thought as to how we want to direct the water through and make sure that it doesn't wash out areas on our property. So this looks like to be the largest concentration of water that then flows down towards the house and goes out into the field. It's a pretty little creek. It goes right through the mushroom area and the denser forest that we want to keep because it's nice and dark and conducive to growing things like mushrooms. All right. Well, thank you for coming along with us today as we went out and took a look at some of the high water marks and some of the remediations. Obviously, we have a lot of upcoming projects that we're going to have to do around the farm to get things in shape, and we look forward to having you guys come along with us and getting some advice on some things that you might have already accomplished. So please like and subscribe and come along with us for our journey. Thanks.